reduce primary residential mortgage, convert the non-deductible mortgage into tax-deductible debt, lower personal tax, reinvest tax savings into additional wealth. This video will show you what nobody's talking about in our industry, how to help your clients, as well as how to help yourself by reducing your mortgage, lower personal tax, tax savings, and so much more. For that reason, I'm bringing you today Zac Lofeudo from RBX Mortgage. And if you're like most Canadian, you may not be aware for yourself and your clients that your mortgage is perhaps the most powerful and flexible financial tool at your disposal. Learn how you can use it to make meaningful headways in your path to financial freedom. So let's dive right into it.
Basically, the process of rental cash damming is similar to the Smith maneuver, kind of, if you've heard of that before. And it's basically the way to make your non-tax deductible debt into tax deductible debt. So when you purchase a owner-occupied home, right, the mortgage payments that you make on your primary residence are not tax deductible. So it's not actually really considered good debt. You've used debt to buy an asset, you're using leverage, but good debt is truly debt that you can also write off the interest portion of that debt as well. When you buy an investment property, you can write off the interest of those mortgage payments, right? So you're truly leveraging good debt there to buy assets. Rental cash damming is the process of taking that owner-occupied primary residence debt and converting it into essentially a rental property expense. Now, how do we do this? We take the rental income from your rental property, and as one would normally do, you take your rental income and you'd pay your rental expenses, right? You take your rental income, you'd probably pay your mortgage payments. Maybe you'd have one bank account where the income goes into and all the expenses so you can organize and track them. That's kind of the standard way to do things. Cash damming is just maneuvering your money around and maneuvering your debt in a slightly different way. So what we're going to do is take the rental income from your rental property and we're going to double up the payments on your primary residence. So not every mortgage can do this, but that's why I come into play, my team comes into play to structure the mortgages in the right way that allow you to optimize all these things. But let's say you had $3,000 in rent from your rental property and you had a $3,000 mortgage payment on your primary residence. Instead of taking that rental income and paying the expenses on the rental property, you're actually going to take the rental income and make a $6,000 payment on your primary residence. And then you're thinking, well, yeah, I still got to pay all my expenses, though. That's all that rental income's eaten up. What you're going to do is open a revolving home equity line of credit on your primary residence and actually borrow the money from that line of credit to make the payments on all the expenses on your rental property. When you do this, this allows that debt, because now you're using that debt to invest, to become tax deductible. So during this process, you're drastically paying down your primary residence mortgage because you're making these big lump sum payments that are going directly to principal. So instead of making that $3,000 a month mortgage payment that you would on your primary residence, and it's only paying down $700-800 towards the principal, that additional $3,000 is now going directly to your mortgage. You're paying your mortgage down by $4,000 a month. Now you're reborrowing it, so it's not gone. You're reborrowing the money from that line of credit to pay the expenses, but now all of the interest that you are paying on the line of credit is tax deductible. So you're creating the tax deductible debt and you're drastically paying down that primary residence debt, which is not tax deductible. To John's point, I think he said, it's like the tax savings that you're now getting by paying your mortgage off dramatically faster, as well as getting tax refunds there, are going to far outweigh whatever interest rate is going on. So the market can go up, down, sideways. Your line of credit interest rate is likely higher than what your traditional mortgage may be, but it doesn't matter because it's all going to negate itself. And the quicker you pay down your mortgage is truly how you are going to become more financially free, or at least optimizing all your debt to tax deductible debt instead of non-tax deductible is extremely important. Okay, so I'm going to show you a little bit of a real life scenario here using this spreadsheet. But before I do,
just one second, Zac. Does anybody see Zac's sharing? Because we get some text that they don't see it.
Yeah, it could be a spreadsheet.
But I see it. I don't know who doesn't see it, but I see it.
Okay.
Yeah, we see it now. Okay, perfect.
Good.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. So before I kind of jump into this is a good point that, again, ties into the kind of tax planning strategies here, is that in Canada, you get taxed. Generally, if you're a salary employee or even self-employed, you can consider it like this. So you get taxed at source, right? If you're not self-employed. If you're self-employed, you structure in a way that you're going to have minimal tax, which John was just talking about as well. But essentially, you pay your mortgage payments with your net income, right? You have to pay yourself, you're self-employed, then pay your mortgage, or you would get paid from your employer and then pay your mortgage. And if you're taxed in the highest tax brackets in Canada, you've got 40, 50% tax that you're getting hit on, right? So in this scenario that I'm going to show you here, if they did nothing, they didn't put any strategies into place, they have a $350,000 mortgage, right? That you can see here as mortgage balance. They just refinanced this, so there's 30 years left to pay $350,000. Okay, if they do nothing, you're basically going to end up paying double for that money in a mortgage in Canada. No matter, the interest rate will go up and down, so it might not be exactly double, but over 25 or 30 years, you're going to essentially end up paying about $700,000 for your $350,000 mortgage. But if you're taxed at the highest tax brackets at 40, 50%, that means you need to earn almost double that just to pay off that mortgage. So if you have a $350,000 mortgage, it's going to cost you $700,000 to pay it off. You got to earn like $1.2 million in gross income, get taxed on that just to pay off your $350,000 mortgage. That's why it's so important to create these structures of making some form of tax deductible debt or moving your money and paying your mortgage off as quickly as possible, right? Or on your primary residence. It's fine to have debt on your rental properties because it's still a tax write-off, but paying down your primary residence is what this is all about. So in this scenario here, this client had a small mortgage left on their, based on the value of their property, right? Value of the property is about 1.3 million. Mortgage balance about 350,000 after they took out some money because they used it to buy an investment property. Okay, so you got a mortgage payment of about 2,200. Then we added the line of credit because that's also important to the strategy. You have to be able to have a line of credit, and ideally that it's revolving. So a revolving line of credit would mean that as they pay this mortgage down, as they pay that principal balance down, more limit opens up on their line of credit. So you may have heard of like a Scotia Step mortgage does this, where there's multiple components, or a TD Flex mortgage, right? As you pay it down, then you pay down $5,000, you get $5,000 added on to your available limit on your line of credit. So they went out, bought an investment property. Expenses on the investment property equate to about $3,100 a month. And their rental income is pretty much the same. So there's very little cash flow in the scenario, but doesn't really matter. There's a little tiny bit of cash flow, and I maybe not am equating for the most amount of maintenance, insurance, things like that. We can adjust these numbers pretty much 100% of the time. It works. If you qualify for this, you should be doing some sort of rental cash damming. Now, this is what the results are, and then I can jump in to go backwards and design what the actual numbers break down to. But using that strategy, so instead of taking this rental income that we have here and just paying the expenses, we take the rental income, we double up the payments on this mortgage, and we borrow money from this line of credit every month to pay the expenses on the rental property. By doing that structure, we're actually going to pay this mortgage off in 17.92 years. So 12 years, basically, we've shaved off this 30 years just by moving the debt around. And we're not putting extra money into the scenario, guys. Like, that's what's really cool. It's not like we're adding $500 every single month to our mortgage. Like, you'll see Instagram posts out there, just pay an extra $500 a month and you'll pay your mortgage off 5 years sooner. That's great, but maybe you don't have that additional money to pump into your mortgage every month. We're not taking any money from anywhere else and putting it elsewhere. We're just moving it around differently to restructure the debt. What's even cooler is that in just 6 years, so instead of 30 years, in 6.33 years in this scenario, that $350,000 mortgage will be gone, and there'll just be a balance on the line of credit. I think it'll be about $250 or so. I'll show you the numbers in a second of how they break down. So you've paid off the mortgage like crazy. You've dropped that down dramatically, and now all of that debt is tax deductible. So over that period of time, this client will actually receive $81,000 in tax refunds that they wouldn't have before if they just paid their mortgage like regular, right? And then the true savings here come by paying it off faster. We've eliminated 146 monthly payments, which is insane. So we've eliminated $300,000 plus in payments they'd have to make. And that pre-tax income savings are where the big money is. Because remember, in this scenario, they needed to earn like $1.2 million over 30 years to pay that $350,000 mortgage off. Well, now we've eliminated having to earn $550,000. And all we're doing is moving this around, right? We're not doing anything crazy. We are setting up, so you have to have the right structure, the right team in place, the right everything. And this can be for any one of your clients as a realtor that already owns an investment property, especially if they're like a first-time investor. They are likely not doing this. This may not be for the more seasoned, advanced investor, right? Because they probably have already optimized their debt in some way, or they've already kind of structured this in some way, intentionally or unintentionally, they may have done that. But as a realtor that wants to put different new information in front of people, or maybe someone that said, I want to buy an investment property, but I'm not sure, is it the right time? The carrying costs are high. Maybe I can't find something that cash flows enough. Put this in front of them and say, yes, that's all true. Maybe it might be tougher to find that property, but there's some good deals out there right now because there's more listings on the market. There's more properties available. So we can find something that works for this. And the benefits are going to be in the tax savings and paying down your own mortgage faster, not even necessarily the investment, all while this investment is also still being paid by the tenant. Like, you're still getting it paid down. So you have the principal pay down on this. You have the appreciation, even if it's only 1-2%. Like, we can be super conservative with all of the other numbers that come with buying an investment property, but these numbers will be consistent of how much we can actually save on your mortgage, on your primary residence. Right. And if we really got someone who wants to jump into the numbers, like, we go deep in these scenarios with every single client. So you can see this column right here is showing the increase of tax refunds every single year. Right. And that's because this is the number of the line of credit. So as I said, I think it was 6 point something years there, 6.33 years. This is where your mortgage has been completely paid down to zero. And they've actually already paid down 50,000 plus off their mortgage in just 6 years, which is a lot more than they would have paid. As well as now this is fully tax deductible. So the debt conversion is complete here. And now we're going to start seeing our tax refunds actually lower. But in this year, because all the interest on this loan now is fully tax deductible, you are now receiving $8,000 tax refunds, right? 7,000, 8,000. Then it'll start to go down because we're using that money to pay down the mortgage as well. So there's a few more pieces of this puzzle. I'm kind of giving you the Coles notes of rental cash damming, but kind of what I do, because I've got, I think, a couple minutes here. I still have 5 minutes, correct? Yes, Jess or Andrea? Five minutes still?
You do.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, when I put this together, and this is something for every realtor out here, if we want to chat after, I'm always happy to go one-on-one with you, dive into a little bit deeper, but I'll have them send this out as well, is that I put this website together to make this information more easily accessible to clients, to realtors, to everyone. So each one of these kind of financial journeys that I put together, and this is just one of them, has a full breakdown on this website. So essentially, I go into even more detail. It's about half hour, 45 minutes of really diving into the strategy, how to do it. And we set up these landing pages for anybody that wants to take advantage of this. So we can actually co-brand out landing pages with realtors, just like this, a realtor that I work with. And then we can create your own landing pages where you can share this with your clients and get this information out to them even easier. So obviously, it would be good for yourself to kind of go through the full 45-minute thing and get your head wrapped around rental cash damming. But this can be a number one kind of lead gen from your existing database to put in front of those potential, to put in front of your database, right? And we've made it super easy for you to do this by understand the concept. We will take care of actually all of the education piece and help you put that in front of your database. And we also have a bunch of marketing tools now as well. So we set up a marketing site. Of course, it doesn't want to load for me right now. Doesn't matter. But we've put together a marketing site that also has video concept ideas for you to use, email templates, all sorts of stuff. So if you're really interested and want to dive more into this, how to do this, even for yourself, if you own one investment property out there and you're not utilizing this in some way, definitely worth us kind of having a further chat one-on-one. And I can obviously get everyone to send out all this information to you